this particular subject about UFOs, that's the old term, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, this is getting more and more popular by way of guys like Bob Lazar on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Stephen Greer. You've got the guy from Blink-182, big and heavy into this right now. And, of course, it is becoming more and more popular because, as of late, the government itself is beginning to release videos, information that is peculiar. You need to see it to believe it. You can't deny it. So here's what I'm saying. We're talking about UFOs, aliens, and the occult today. And I'll just play this video and let you guys jump in here. This is not one of those things, and this is probably a pet peeve that I can announce here. What I don't like is when, as Christians, we get the reputation where somebody provides evidence from their perspective, even if it's spurious evidence. They provide evidence, they put something in front of you, and Christians wave the hand and don't give an answer that's appropriate, that's solid, logical, reasonable, biblical. I don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing. And of course, there's a command in Scripture, 1 Peter 3:15, to sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to give an apologia, a reasoned defense to everyone who asks of you a reason for the hope that's within you, yet do it with gentleness and with reverence. Now, that's the command of Scripture, and of course, many of us recognize that in the area of, say, Mormonism or Islam or Jehovah's Witnesses or feminism or socialism or Marxism, all that. But in this weird area, we talk about UFOs, I think it's such a peculiar area. Christians just sort of check out, wave the hand, and say, oh, demons, and that's it. So this film is actually very interesting. It's available on YouTube and iTunes, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. We're going to play through a substantial portion at the beginning here so you sort of get the ground underneath you, understand kind of where this is coming from. It's a fascinating film because I just want to say it outright. They have actual footage of contact with entities that are responsive to them, and you just need to know that. There is, I guess, never before seen footage in this film of them out in the desert trying to communicate with these entities, and I'm going to explain more about that later. And these entities respond to their communication, and they have footage of it. Some of the footage is quite fascinating. So if you guys want to get a chance to check out the film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, contact has begun. Dr. Stephen Greer is responsible for this film. It's very well done. I just got to say that. Great documentary. It's very well done. Cinematography-wise, it doesn't look like a silly YouTube video. It's well done. And it starts off, and I explained this to Luke last week, I believe. It starts off with very sort of here's the evidence from the government. You can't deny this. It sounds very scientific and very sort of, let's observe the evidence. Let's not turn our heads from it. And you're like, all right, that's interesting. Wow, that's some serious footage. And then the switch. It goes right to where I was surprised that it was wow, half the film is dedicated to an encouragement and a training session on how to engage in the occult.
Yeah, he's not secretive about it, and I guess maybe it's just because he would reject that, I don't know, he would reject that it's a new age practice. He thinks he's actually engaging in some sort of scientific something, maybe.
He does, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and there's a lot of support for that today because you've got guys like Larry Dawsey.
That's all over the secular world.
Oh, completely.
People sort of stripping the new age occult characteristics of something in the name of science or health, even with tripping for your mental health, on DMT or ayahuasca or whatever.
Exactly. There's sort of a scientific veneer put over what are historically...
Even though when you get down to it, it's oh, well, what was your scientific test? It's oh, we went out into the desert and we chanted.
Yeah.
For science.
Yeah, for science. We talked to an alien.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did.
Yep,
I'm sure you talked to somebody.
Yeah, there was definitely something going on. This is actually a very well-known discussion. If You can investigate this. Look up Larry Dossey, Dossey. You can look up Era 3 medicine. You can look up non-locality. We're talking about things on the quantum level. And this is very popular today. Like I said, I'm going to play for you guys here in a minute. Essentially, this is ancient occultic pagan worldview now sort of streamlined into, say, Era 3 medicine, non-locality, the way of thinking about the universe, ourselves, our minds. So what Dr. Stephen Greer is suggesting here is that these entities, because they're so much more advanced than we are, and because they're coming from, star systems that are so many millions and millions of light years away from us, they don't communicate the way we do through cell phones or things that are at the speed of light or what have you. They're communicating on a quantum level. They're communicating with non-locality. They're communicating via mind and thought. And so what Dr. Stephen Greer begins to suggest is the way to communicate with these entities is in the way that their advanced civilizations allow them to, and that's via meditation, thought, mind, and those sorts of things. So it really is occultism, and that's what Dr. Stephen Greer ultimately is engaging in. He can try to say it's scientific and it's communicating with entities and civilizations from another star system, but in reality, he's engaging in ancient pagan practices and occultic practices that God warns about in Deuteronomy 18. People have been doing this for a long time, and that's what he's doing. So this goes from a realm of empiricism, observation, evidence, UFOs, military, documentation, into, okay, now we need to have CE5 contact, close encounter of the fifth kind, where we become the willing participants to make contact with the entities. So you hear Dr. Stephen Greer in the thing talking about, I can sort of quiet myself, get into a transcendental meditative state, and I can try to search with my mind and try to call out to these entities somewhere in the universe, and I can find one in which galaxy he's in, and I can try with my mind to invite this entity to me. And what's amazing, Luke, is they come.
Oh yeah, go figure.
They come.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see that here in a second. Anything you want to say?
We should mention that Joy had to go feed Georgia, so that's
why
Joy didn't get abducted.
No, she didn't have a fourth encounter.
So
no,
that's why Joy left. Also, I was just going to mention quickly that we've had Gary Bates on twice from Creation Ministries International. Once for his book Alien Intrusion, and then for the film Alien Intrusion. And I don't know, it's been several years since we've had him on, but so everything we're talking about, this is stuff you can go and if you haven't read his book or seen the film, you should. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it really does a really good job of explaining all this. So this is stuff we've talked about in the past. So when you saw this, one reason you were excited because you were like, this is what we've been saying. This is exactly what we've been saying.
And they're admitting
now they're admitting it, and there's proof. And
they're putting on film.
Exactly.
It was very exciting for me to see. Look, understand that the cards are on the table for Dr. Stephen Greer in terms of close encounters of the fifth kind. It's when you are trying to make direct contact with these entities via meditation, via your mind and communication, and you'll hear over and over again in this constant plea to, you need to be innocent and open yourself to these things and open your mind to these things and invite them in. And guys, brothers and sisters, this is no different than all the stuff that's been taking place in pagan cultures for forever. I mean, in Deuteronomy 18, where God is commanding against communication with the dead, necromancy, all this stuff, look, this is back, Moses wrote this. This is what God gives to his people in terms of protecting them via his law, protecting his people from these things. This isn't new stuff. It's just got a new package. It's got a new spin, a new scientific veneer to it. But guys, I'm telling you, look, half this film is dedicated to essentially instructing people.
Yeah.
How do you do this? It's done like this. And you'll hear all of these quotations from Hindus and pagan people, and it is very, very new age and occultic, and it's just really tightly packaged into this nice little thing of UFOs.
Yeah. We even heard him say there right at the end, he's looking for a higher purpose.
Yes. And look, and I'll be the first to say that the footage that you will see in it is compelling. I mean, these things appear when they're doing these seances and practicing these occultic things. They appear, they respond to them. There's some crazy stuff. And the cool thing about modern times is we have video cameras and stuff that can even film demonic interaction.
Yeah.